This is chapter 5, high class. Let's start the chapter. Hi, this is chapter 5. It's about B2B. So far, what we were talking about B2C or C2C marketing. Today, we will be talking more about B2B, which is business to business marketing and how it's done, because it's different than B2C in some cases. So the learning objective of this chapter will be identify and distinguish the characteristics of industrial, reseller, government, and nonprofit market and how they are measured. So beside the, B2C, which is to consumer, business to consumer, we have what we call B2B, business to business. And there is a different marketing activities. Some of them is just different than the B2C. But here we need to distinguish the characteristics of the industrial, resellers, the government, and nonprofit market and how they are measured. Then we need to describe the importance of content marketing to B2B marketeers, explain which key characteristics organization buying make the process different from consumer buying. Describe how buying centers and buying situation influence the organization purchasing, and outline the process of business segmenting or segmentation. And then we will be explaining the growing importance of the approach to online buying for industrial, reseller, and government market. And we'll bring the example of tijari.com, just to give you an understanding of how this online is influencing lots of B2B. Now, in the B2B marketing, retailers work with the business as a suppliers and customers. Business buyers are not the same as consumers. So they buy it to sell it most of the time or to consume it in order to produce more service to the consumers. Now, the nature and the size of the organization market. Business marketing products to the organizational buyer. Buyer purchase and lease a large volume of equipment, raw material, manufactured parts, supplier, and business. The business in the B2B is, as I see it, is much bigger and much lucrative, but it takes more effort and more sophistication. Organizational buyers, they could be industrial for the industrial, or they're resellers, or could be a government or nonprofit organizations. Now, measuring industrial, reseller, government, and nonprofit market, North American Industry Classification, or NICS, provide a common industry definition for Canada, Mexico, and the USA. And it goes by a code, for example, abbreviated in code. So if you look here, the first one you're looking at is probably is usually 6-digit number, but the 6-digit number is made of the first 3 digit is regard of the industry subsectors. So the industry of subsectors is like you have the performing arts, spectators, sports, and the related industries. And this is the kind of, or you have 712, which is the heritage institution, and 713, the amusement, gambling, and recreation industries. So there are, each industry has the first 3-digit appointed to it. Then after that comes the fourth digit, which is, it could be, as you see here, 711, which is this one, and 1. It is a guideline to the industry that you are looking for in order for you to understand. Maybe in commerce, it's easier to glossarize using these kind of numbers for that industry that you're looking for. So if you, at your free time, you can enter the website and try to enter these industry numbers, and we'll show you and find, probably you'll find more research about that specific industry, whether you want it to be very specific or you want to be a little bit more generic. So you had the 4-digit, like the fourth one. So it is the last digit, which is here 1, is part of the 711 industry, but it's about the performing art companies, spectator sport, which is 7112, and then you have 7113 is the promoters of performing arts, support, sports, and similars. Then under the performing art and arts companies, you have the comes in the 5th-digit industry, which is 71111 or 71111, which is comes the theaters companies and the dinners theater, and then you have the dance company, and then you have your musical group. And then you have the theater, except the musical companies, and then you have the musical theaters and the opera companies. So if you're looking for a Canadian national industry that you want to use, and you're looking for a list of the companies in that field, once you enter that industry number, 111, you will have a list of the theaters except the musical company. So this is how it's classified. And when you are looking in the commerce, chambers of commerce, they do classify it in that way too. So what's a content marketing? Keep potential consumer engaged by ensuring the relevant and the value content is available at the various touch points. Let me give you an example, like a social media, newsletters, videos, and research also provide opportunity for feedback. This is what you call a content marketing. Sometimes what happens, for example, when we're working for technology evaluation center where we supposed to consult the companies to do a software evaluation or software selection, what we do through the marketing campaign that generated through the website, people comes in, start trying to download some information about the new trend of the IT, for example, or a new product. Once they download it, they leave their names and their email. So then it comes into our group, and our group starts sending these content to them. So they keep them updated and informative. And at the same time, they will be having a, what do you call, the affirmative action, which is shows that they are knowledgeable about these issues. In this case, after a while of sending this information, feeding them and replying to their concerns, then they start looking up to this company, and somebody will be targeting them to promote the service that they have, probably, or try to see what is taking them to select or replace their softwares. Before even Technology Evaluation Center sells any service, is present their authority level to other companies to say, yes, I know I can help what you're looking for, and because I have the experience through publishing social media, e-newsletter, videos, and something like that. So the characteristics of organizational buying is the key characteristic of organizational buying behavior is the market itself that they are into it. What they're looking for, a product or a service, it defines. Also the marketing mix, which is we took it in the B2C, price, promotion, place, and product, and also the buying process of the organization. These are all is not similar in any from one organization to another organization. So we need to take into consideration these companies when it comes to these factors, the key characteristics. But in general, how this demand is created there. So the demand is mostly is called derived demand. Any demand for the industrial product and services is driven by the demand of consumers, products, and services. So it's basically when you're a reseller or retailer or service provider, you want to provide a service or a product to a consumer. And you know today there is 10 of them, so you're interested in buying for 10. Tomorrow you know there is 100, you're interested in buying for 100. So it's a driven demand. And it's an inelastic demand. So it does not get influenced by the prices. It is they have, so they need certain products that to produce their end product for the consumer. So that's what you call inelastic. And as we said, there is a fluctuation or a fluctuating demand. Today you have 10 consumer, you buy for 10, for example. Next month, same day, you have 30 consumer, you buy for the next month, same day for that 30 people. So it's a fluctuating demand. So as you see here in this figure, you see the direct versus the derived demand. In a direct, you have a demand for a newspaper and pizza, then it's a direct demand for paper for a newspaper and pizza boxes. And it's the same thing, demand for a pulp to manufacture papers and packaging, and demand for raw logs to make a pulp. In the case, this is a direct demand, and then you have what you call derived or driven demand, which is demand for the pulp to manufacture papers and packaging is according of how many is required. So that's what's driven them to select the quantity and the price. And so what's the consumer want? You go and select accordingly. Now, in the case of product or service characteristics, usually the size of the order or purchase typically much larger. So you will spend more days, more hours in order to deliver one sale or one service because it's pretty large. And the number of potential buyer often far fewer than buyers. So you have, for example, 10 resellers for plastic bags who they do sell clothing, for example. They sell clothing for 100,000, but who's buying from you the plastic bags is the 10 reseller of clothing. So it's a fewer there, and you probably need to pay more attention. Usually, the guys in charge of these accounts, they call them account manager more than the salespeople. Now, the organization buying objective. Understanding buying objective is necessary first step in the marketing to organization. When you're going to do sales to B2C, Most of the time you have certain marketing campaign, you do certain marketing activities, and people comes in, you don't need to understand more about their detailed about uh, their requirement for the purchase. But in the organization size, it is in, it is about increasing the profit through reducing the cost or increasing sales. So when they're buying from you, is do they want to do one or two of them? One, they want to reduce their costs because you provide a cheaper one or a better product at same price, or they want to increase their sales because they can take a good raw materials from you and produce a better product. This is in case of regular companies. In case of non-profit firms and government agencies, they need to meet the need of the group they serve. So here in non-profit agencies and usually government, they don't look for the lower cost, reducing the cost or increasing sales. They look to produce the service or good for the group that they serve. So when you're looking at organizational buying criteria, it's more organized and more delivered and lots of terms involved in it. In the buying criteria, detailed specification for the product or the service they want to buy and the characteristic of the supplier. And they what do they have? The reverse marketing, which is I posted one video for you. You can go and see it. And it's basically we talk about they first they have certain needs and they bring their needs to you, and instead of you pushing, you have established their needs. Here what they do, they look for a certain price, they look for certain quality, delivery, technical capabilities, warranties and claims, the past performance and production facilities and capability. But the issue comes in here is the fear in organizational buying behavior is emotions drive a human behavior always, organizational risk and personal risk. So there is always the worry about selecting the wrong products because that's what might them lose their job or they lose their edge. And for many causes, organizational buyers to make a rational decision they will regret. We will talk how you can help the organizational buyer to do the best procedures and be a best advisor to sell for them. Here, what you keep in mind, you are there not to do the sales talk. If you do a consultancy for them and help them to select the best thing for them, then it's easy for you to sell them or market your product. So what we have usually, we have what you call a buyer-seller relationship and supply partnership. Organization buying is more likely to involve in more complex because there's more people involved in it, more reason, more specification. So the organization buying is more likely to involve in a complex and lengthy negotiation. They have what you call a reciprocal arrangement. And when the two organizations, for example, agree to purchase each other product and services, so you sell me this and I will buy this from you. And this has happened in many organizations. The other one is the most available and you can see visibly in the market is what you call the supply partnership. When a buyer and its supplier adopt mutual benefits, beneficial objectives, policies, and procedures for the purpose of lowering the cost or increasing the values. The buyer always will buy from you if he knows if he buys it, buy something, you will help him in lowering costs or increasing his sales. This is a very important concept in the organizational buying behavior. Now, in the organizational buying process, so that's the goal, is really to reduce their costs and increase their profit. But there is a process that you should be aware of it. First of all, organizational behavior, buying behavior for decision-making process used to, they establish the need, identify, evaluate, and choose among the alternative brand and suppliers. But how do they do that? Which one comes in first? When they're supposed to establish the need? How they evaluate and choose among them? That's what makes it a tricky. And if you want to target organization to sell, you have to approach a certain way to be very successful. Now, we go back to the first thing we talked about it, and we're also going to use it in the B2B, is what Warren Buffett says, the price is what you pay, the value is what you get. So this is also applicable for organizations, buying behavior. They pay a price to get a value. So they get a product that help them to sell more or cost them less to produce. So that's the value they are looking for. Now, the main goal, one of the other goals that they're looking at it is the value through reducing the time, whether in the production or selling or selecting. They're also looking at, we said, reducing the cost and also reducing the risk. The reason when they buy things, they carry some risk. You're passing some risk to them. So the less is the risk, the easier for you to deliver the sales. But where is the issues that might go wrong there? First of all, if the organization, within the organization, they're not clearly communicated why they're buying things for whom. Secondly, uh, knowing what really is needed. So they want to buy something, but they don't know what is really needed to buy the details of this information. And this happens a lot in IT. They want to buy something, but they don't know really what it's needed to get ready for buying sometimes. These are points that where you can walk in and start marketing yourself according to these points. Why? What really is needed? And then you recognizing the uniqueness of the business. So if you understand their business, and keep in mind, these are a large companies, so it's worth to spend some time to understand these organization. So you need to recognize the uniqueness of their business and make sure that these organizations, they look around, they look at the most qualified. So you want to position yourself as a qualified organization. So there is a qualified and there is order winner. Order qualified, you could be one of the 10 people or companies who are qualified, they will purchase from you. But then you're probably missing one characteristic that they're looking for, or the price, your price is a little bit higher, so that you are not order winner. So you can be a qualifier, but not an order winner. Out of these 10, from 100 organization, 10 might be a qualifier, and out of these 10, only one will be order winner. So it's winning. So the chance is slim also in this case. So you need to keep an eye on the vendors, other vendors, which is your competition, because they're looking at them also. Um, you need to make sure the procedures, the giving an implementation a good attention of how they are process of selecting, the order winner. Pay a good intention on it, and try to find how you looking at the long-term solutions for them to set up a long-term relation with them. It is important that so your effort as a marketeer or as a salesperson would be less. But the challenges, you have to see their challenges so you understand how you can help them in this matter. And when you see the challenges, there is always technology's challenges because they hear lots of marketing rhetoric and there is lots of fact between them. If you can match your marketing rhetoric with the fact, then you are really meeting to be recommended or qualified. Um, Delivery and promises, you need to make sure these promises is being delivered. So you repertoires becomes really positive with them. Um, could be in case of IT, hardware, software compatibility in this case, or implementation failure if you're a service providers. And also you have to know one thing, they are have a limited resources. So if you over asking them to get you with the details, it would be a little bit for them to accommodate your time. Um, they might don't have this evaluation, their lack of the evaluation selection expertise, because they might have the purchasing department doing that for them, and it's not in the field of they are specialized or as a consultant. They might be specialized, but not as a consultant. And there might be some communication gap. So you might talking to them very technically, but they don't understand your technical. You need to speak their jargon word, their industry language to make them understand. And there is, you always need to look at the purchase that they're going to do. It's as a project. They have a project to purchase and they might be spending 100,000 or 500,000 on a product. So it is a project for them. So they might have unstructured plan. You need to help them probably how to plan it without even trying to push your product. Um, you need to clear their scope. So clarifications back and forth, which lots of clarification happens before any sales delivery. Um, they might have incomplete requirement gathering, so you can help them in complete their requirement, missing some requirement, and they might have an issue with the measuring decision factors. So you might be supporting them in the uh, factors that help them to make a decision. See, all these happening before even a sales delivered. But the most important thing that you need to look at it and create that within the organization is the fact the building consensus. You need to make sure the decision makers, it would be wonderful if all the buyers who want to make a decision, they are consensus, they agree on you or they agree on certain terms that you match it. But if you cannot, at least you have the majority voice or the superior voice there who is helping you and creating some push for your product. So the best approach is to create the building consensus. But how do I create a building consensus? You see, when you, the biggest mistake the marketing do and this marketers do or the sellers do, they jump right away on the references. We reference, we did this, we did that, we did this for this company, we did that for that company. These are references. They are good, but you don't start from that. That could be a door opener in the beginning, but don't influence, focus on it. You as a marketer, you need to first separate their objective from their subjective, from their holistic view. Once you were able to help them to separate these ideas, they will be trusting you as a marketer to guide them to the direction that you want to. So the first thing you look at it, and these could be done all together, which is causing a very confusing and making a chance of making mistakes very big. Once they buy from you, they might find out that they did a mistake thing, big mistake, and they will not call you back. But if you try to separate these for them and clarify their vision, it first says, well, what's your objective? The objective is you're looking for certain functionality, for certain characteristics in the product that must have. Some of them is nice to have, some of them is must have. So let's see at the must have. So now you're looking at their requirement like functionalities and technology, the equipment that they're buying, or the product has a certain able to operate, perform in a certain way, or get a made of certain products that they are looking for. So these are the objectives. These are very clear what they're looking for. The second thing, then you start looking at the subjective. Subjective, when they have a group of buyers, each one has a different point of view. And this is what you call a subjective. And in the subjective, you have the marketing information. People can see this product better fit for them. People can see the product Y is better fit for them. And it's a subjective thing. And you might run to some difficulties in making everybody thinks that way. But if you separating subjective from the objective from the beginning as a marketer, you would be have an easy road to success. So the market data and the RFP that they're publishing is a subjective in a way, but that can be a qualitative. um, it's supposed to qualify you, but that doesn't make you a winner. But if you start working on with them of how to separate the object and subjective, then you will be more successful. When you're not aware of things until you see them, they're publishing RFP, most likely you are going to be losing this business. And then they might call you asking you some scripted scenarios, how this product will be working, how you're going to deliver it, how many days you're going to deliver it for me, how it's packaged, all these. They write some certain questions willing to ask you these questions. And the other subjective might be scripted, as we said, scripted and easy to use. Some company, some individual within the buying group might find it is easy to buy. Some of them, they might find it easy as hard to use. And the last thing, you look at whether these product is really fit in their process, minimizing their cost, or maximizing their sales, or doing the both. The last thing, you go back again and start emphasizing on the references when the basic things. So you need to build the objective first. Once you build the objectives in them, and then the subjective, then you do the holistic perspective again for them. The stages in the organizational buying process is first they see there is a problem recognition, whether the machines are getting old or they're running out of papers that they use. And then they do the information search, and then they do the evaluation and alternatives. So they're looking around of where they should. And then they make the decision process, and then there is a post-purchase process. So if you are with them from the early stage of the problem recognition, or at least at the level of information search, then you will be able to have a better chance of closing these deals with them. Now, the cross-functional group, the buying centers is a group of people who share the common goal, risk, and knowledge important to purchase decision. Buying committees, they call them, if formalized. And they are not equal. Some of them are more knowledgeable, some of them less knowledgeable. They might have some internal politics. Some of them are decision makers. Some of them are less decision makers. Some of them, we call them the champions. The champions are the ones who takes your words and start market it within the organization. Yes, let's buy from this company. She's really good. She's been doing this for the others. All these, you try to find the champions who can use the word of mouth. So a major question in understanding the buying center is finding and reaching the people who will initiate, influence, and actually make the buying decision. You might have people within the group, they're not making any decision. They're just there to support any decisions from coming from somebody else. So the cross-functional group, marketers need to answer these. When you see these group, you need to answer these. Which individual are in the buying center for the product or service? Who is the champion and who is the one who makes that decision of buying? What is the relative influence of each member of group? What I call them decision maker and bless making. A bless making, there is a group within the buying decision. They're not there to make a decision, they are there to support the decisions. So you need to know what is the relative influence of each member of the group. You also need to know what are the buying criteria. As we said, you differentiate between objective and subjective as we earlier. Of, but these are, you need to know when it comes to the subjective, since it is subjective, people have a tendency not to think in the same thing. In the group, you might have within the subjective area, one says it's easy, one says it's no, it's hard, the same product. One says, well, we can guarantee support, another says, we can guarantee another company who give us a better product. So all these things, you need to see each member, what are the buying criteria of each member. How does each member of the group perceive the potential buyer? How do you see you as a buyer, as a seller? It is a product and services and its salespeople. They will need to, you need to impress them, um, prove your authority level by showing them that you do understand their industries and you're there to help them as an organization, to help them to lower their costs or increase their sales. So buying centers is made of users, and these users can be made of influencers, internal and external influencers, and they are buyers, and there's a between them they are deciders, and there is a gatekeeper who will probably you need to surpass them and let you in. And usually the champion, what we call the champions, are some of the gatekeepers. They carry too many, two or three characteristics in them. But how these buying, what kind of buying this organization do? So there is a buying classes, different buying situation. A straight rebuy, and that's the best one. You don't need to do that much. It's just they send you the order and you supply them. That's what you call a straight rebuy. And then you have the modified rebuy. So they want you to adjust their product the last time and supply them with it. And you have the new buy, which is it takes lots of effort, but once you set them up and you made them a recruiting buyer, they become a straight buyer or a modified rebuyer. Rebuy. In the B2B market segmentation divided markets based on type of consumers, what kind of a customers you have, the size of the customer, whether small, large, or huge, type of buying situation, when they're supposed to buy the thing, where there's right now in the end of buying, when they're about to publish RFP, way before. Customer location, Location is important if they are in the same country or internationally. You might need to customize your product according to the international. You might to look at the if there is a tariff or logistics and all these things. And what's the benefit that you need to pass to them in order to them to see it and accept these benefits for you? Bottom line, value comes in from your benefit that you're getting. And these value, how you see the values, is what's the benefit I'm getting. And this is, it means value. It creates the value for you. And the value that causing you to pay to the seller. Now, the the prominence of online buying in organization and market. At the General Electric, online buying has cut the cost of the transaction from $50 to 100 per purchase to about $5. So they used to cost them 50 to 100. Now they do pay per purchase $5. Tijari has helped so much in UAE, especially in Dubai, to give this impression. If you're aware of Dubai, for example, you know that Dubai used to be a very poor, and now it's one of the wealthiest countries, cities in the world. And the reason is they had two things that they done it right. One is having a Jabal Ali, which is international logistic and business hub, and they have a tijari.com, which is the electronic business hub. And these have built up the wealth in UAE. So here what you're looking at, the buyer depends heavily on timely suppliers information. They are want to see the information at their fingertips. So by clicking, they need to look at their information. It should be a web-based technology, reduce the buyer order processing, and should be a web-based technology, reduce the marketing cost, and broadens the customer base. Because from a customer, from the seller's perspective, you need to lower your marketing costs. And from the buyer perspective, he's aware he's paying part of the hidden cost is the marketing cost and sales cost. So these are things, if you can reduce them, then you'll be more competitive in this field. Now, what you have is virtual organizational market. And these are happening, for example, in the e-marketplace, whether you do it independent or a private. E-marketplace is about online trading communities that bring together the buyer and the suppliers of organization. They might be independent, which is charge fee for the service provided, or they can be private, set up their own private, like Walmart does that. Link the network of qualified suppliers and buy and sell within that site. So online auction in the organizational market. Excuse me. In the traditional one, what we have is the fact there is a one seller and many buyers. And since there is many buyers for one seller, is usually as quantity number of buyers increases, there's more demand for that product, and then the price goes up. But if there is only one buyer and there is many sellers, as this number of sellers increases, they start competing with each other, lowering the price, making more efficient, better product, helping in the consumers, giving the buyer product that can lower their costs or make more sales. But because there is many sellers, we have a tendency as the number of the sellers increases, the price goes down. Now, keeping that in mind, we spoke about how these two here, General Electric or GE does it, and how the Tijari does it for as an independent. Here, GE does it as a dependent, but as a private, I'm sorry, but Tijari does it as an independent. Just to give me, I give you a general introduction here. In Tijari.com, it is established in year since 2000, so it's almost like a 26 years old company, and it's part of the e-government plan. All suppliers in Dubai are member of Tijari. Export in the marketplace, technology, e-commerce, law, and practice and procurement consultancy service locally, regionally, and internationally. The vision is to enable companies to realize the dramatic cost saving, greater efficiencies, and extend consumers' reach, which is facilitated the online procurement Tijari. What made Tijari successful? They went and asked big companies and government to be on Tijari.com for free. And when they also asked these to utilize their purchasing solution and purchasing technologies and services for free. So these big companies welcome that idea. But in return, they wanted to make sure when they saw this application, they saw everything is transparent. So they loved it. They asked them, well, to stay transparent, you need to ask your suppliers to join. And each suppliers who join there, he can put his catalog, his products and everything, and then they charge the suppliers instead of charging the buyer. So a big organization usually have 1,000 suppliers. So these 1,000 suppliers, each one will put $50 yearly. That means $50,000. And then Tijari is an e-procurement solution and B2B marketplace that allow company and organization to automate their procurement, as I said, using their application, and buy and sell product online. Company can find, compare, and procure products and services. So instead of building their own application and having many sellers coming in and out, trying to push their product and might create some corruption there, they said, okay, just use our application. We'll give you the free services, and we will be you will be very transparent. So it's basically to enable company to realize the dramatic cost saving, greater efficiency, and extended research, which they online procurement through Tijaris. Well, what they did, they also used the most advanced application, Microsoft and Oracle. That time was 11i. They also they did online requisitions, approval workflow for the company, and ordering. So the big companies, instead of buying and purchasing their own software for purchase and all these things, they only can utilize this application for free. And if they do have one, they tell them, let's integrate it. We will do an integration for them. So they did all this set of the procedures for them, such as online auction and auctioneers, tenders, publishing, RFQ, RFI creation, helping them, documentation attachment, auto comparison. They do suppliers management, so they do manage the suppliers for the product, attribute, and all these things. and it made it as easy integration with the big companies, organization, if they have already procurement application. If they don't, so they don't need to buy a procurement application, they can utilize their procurement. And highly secure, available, uh, English, Arabic, Persian, I think is in Hindu also they made it. And they created some e-catalog to do shopping for the organizations. So what is the advantage? The advantage is they had a low startup cost. So if you want to be a supplier, you don't need to do any startup costs. It's just this, they started it in year 2000, by the way. Amazon is recently been famous for that. So but they did, they did not publish, they worked for their own government. You as a supplier, you have a low startup cost. All you have to do $50 a year. You have no investment in the hardware, networking, or service, so you're not worried about it. You don't need to purchase any software. Even sometimes the buyers who don't have it, they don't need. You don't be worried about the implementation charges. You have a remote accessibilities. Your data is always maintained and backed up, and they have a presence there to support you. You might looking at the fact that you're reducing the procurement. I'm not going to go details, but the thing here is a higher marketing reach and exposure. So when you are a member of the Tijari as a supplier, you have access and better reach to the big companies and getting exposed to them. On other hand, the big suppliers, they have access to you and others. For them it's so nobody will be favorite one over the others who is keep, related to his family or something like that. So the higher market reach and the automation and the centralization of internal recognition. So they worked on this. Now, what's benefit that the both got, the buyers and the supplier, and mostly the buyer, cost of good and service reduced, saving up to 20% are common. So we told you in the beginning the two reasons the company will buy from you in B2B is whether you lower their cost or you make them sell more. So for the suppliers, now they're willing to join Kitejari because they can sell more. For the buyers, they're willing to join Tijari because they can save the cost of buying, for example the quick efficiencies there, the process, the service improved. They can see all the process and there's visibility spending analysis. They can see the analysis. They have all the visible report that they can see how much they bought, when they're supposed to buy, all these things, and they can see it also. But in general, how the process is happening is basically they look, senior manager has some need. Then when the senior manager has some need, the management is aware of it. And then when the management is aware of it, they can go as a technology or as the technology to look at the e-catalog or whomever is the supplier there. So they ask the purchasing to do that and they can see it online is done. So they know when the product is coming or who is doing the activities. So the purchasing, once it's happened, is approved recognition, procurement department, but centralized. And then it goes automatically to accountant. So the things is get delivered and paid automatically. And if it's rejected, it's the same circle this happened. So this is end. I just wanted to bring you an example of companies that use the B2B very successful. So you have a better understanding when you're approaching B2B marketing is a much different than B2C. Thank you very much.